Welcome to 15-Minute Mentorship. I'm Russ Broomell. Clearly good mentorship takes longer than 15 minutes. My aim with this podcast is to pass along things I've learned along the way, things that I would talk about with you if I was your mentor, and we were talking over, coffee. Let's grab a coffee. Let's dig in. Today's episode is a little different than normal, and I use the term normal pretty loosely anyway. Today's episode is interactive. After all, what good is mentorship really when you're only consuming and not collaborating? What good is mentorship when you're passive rather than practicing? What good is mentorship when you're watching instead of working? I want to discuss a topic which I feel is important to give attention to because it's intimately related to our attention: reflection. Let's start with self-reflection. And as we start, I should mention that by self-reflection, I don't just mean casual introspection. It's not, I just happened to notice. No, for me, it's deliberate practice, an intentional examination of my actions and of the thoughts and motivations that are behind whatever I've done. Self-reflection to me is challenging myself to look in the mirror, not to admire the reflection, but to explore and to understand it. Why? Why is this important? For me, self-reflection empowers me to identify my real core values, not just what I say is important to me, what I really think is important to me, right? The stuff that if it's really important to me, I'm doing it, or I'm trying to do it, or it's driving what I'm doing. And self-reflection, frankly, cuts through all the BS that I try to sell myself. It forces a reality check. Self-reflection gives me a place to examine my passions sometime other than when I'm in the middle of being motivated by them. It lets me look at what drove me to make the decisions and to take the actions that I took. It gives me a moment to appreciate my quirks, the weirdness that's in there, and there's plenty. And it lets me embrace it as part of what makes me uniquely me. Understanding these personal elements is crucial because these things shape how I interact with the world, how I meet challenges, how I celebrate wins. I need to understand these things if I want to have any possible hope of changing or improving them. In the professional sphere, self-reflection is equally important. It's a tool for lifelong learning. And if you've been a part of any of our episodes, you know exactly how I feel about that. Self-reflection is a way to take stock of my professional journey, to recognize my achievements, to pinpoint areas where maybe I've not been playing my A game. Someone pithily said that every setback is a setup for success. Yeah, maybe. I think my chances of success are better if I'm doing regular self-reflection and looking at those setbacks. Call me cynical if you will, but that's how I've seen the world work. Turning to the spiritual side, and if you've listened or watched before, you know I think this is a crucial, critical, central part of life. And self-reflection takes on an even more important role here. I'd like to share with you a powerful tool that's helped me in my own spiritual self-reflection. It's John Wesley's 22 questions. These questions, developed by the founder of Methodism, are designed specifically for spiritual self-reflection. Wesley's questions cover a range of topics, from our relationships with others to our personal spiritual practices. They're meant to be asked regularly, ideally daily, in community, to help us examine our thoughts and words and actions. Some examples of these questions include, simple things like, am I honest in all my acts and words, or do I exaggerate? Then some dig a little deeper, like, am I enjoying prayer? And some that may take some time to answer, like, is there anyone whom I fear, dislike, disown, criticize, hold resentment toward, or disregard? And if so, what am I going to do about it? John could be a bit intense. Asking myself these questions regularly can help me identify areas where I need to grow, but it can also give me a moment of joy when I can answer, I think I did better there than I would have last year. In the context of spiritual self-reflection, these questions can help us develop a deeper understanding of ourselves and of our relationship with God. They encourage us to be honest with ourselves, to confront our weaknesses, to seek forgiveness and growth. I think they are so powerful. I wrote a Bible study about it and published it. Now, self-reflection can be hugely positive experience, but a word of warning. Looking inward is not always easy. It can confront us with truths about ourselves and our past, frankly, that hurt. And if that happens, get help if you need it, please. You have people around you who love you and professionals who know how to help. All you need to do is say the word. What do you say we expand this conversation a little bit? It's time for that interactive part we talked about. In just a moment, I'll ask you to press pause. I'll invite you to grab a piece of paper and to make some notes. You don't need to share these with anybody, so be honest with yourself. If you don't like what you've written, hey, that's okay. Frankly, it's fine to just tear it up and toss it. In fact, I have friends getting their masters in therapy who suggest it sometimes. Here we go. You ready? Think about the last time you paused and reflected on your journey through life. It could be about a specific event or a time in your life, about your job, your family, your spiritual journey, your actions in a specific situation, or maybe just some good old-fashioned alone time thinking about life in general. Whatever it was, think deeply about the last time you paid real attention and did some intentional self-reflection. Got that in mind? Okay. Now answer this simple question after you press pause in a minute. What did you learn? Here are some examples that might help. After that intentional self-reflection, what are the things you want to stop or maybe do more of? Did you figure out anything about why you did something or said something? Maybe you got some insight about what's really important to you instead of just what you say is important. What self-discovery came out of your self-reflection? Go ahead, grab that piece of paper, grab a pencil, make some notes. Remember, you don't need to share them with anybody, so be honest with yourself. Think about the last time you intentionally paid attention to self-reflection and write about what you learned. If you can do so safely right now, go ahead, press pause, and take a couple of minutes to think back on your self-reflection and what you learned about yourself. Welcome back. Did you press pause? Now I want to talk about the flip side of self-reflection, if you will, reflection on others. And let me start with an example. In Act 1 of Shakespeare's play Hamlet, which is a great play, go watch it if you haven't. Polonius is speaking to his son Laertes, sending him off with some sage fatherly advice, and it goes a little bit like this. There, my blessing with thee, and these few precepts in thy memory. Look thou character, give thy thoughts no tongue, nor any unproportioned thought his act. Be thou familiar, but by no means vulgar. Those friends thou hast and their adoption tried, grapple them unto thy soul with hoops of steel. Do not dull thy palm with entertainment of each new hatched, unfledged comrade. Beware of entrance into a quarrel, but being in, bear it that the opposed may beware of thee. Give every man thy ear, but few thy voice. Take every man's censure, but reserve thy judgment. Costly thy habit as thy purse can buy, but not expressed in fancy. Rich, not gaudy. For the apparel oft proclaims the man, and they in France of the best rank and station are of a most select and generous chief in that. Neither a borrower nor a lender be, for loan oft loses both itself and friend, and borrowing dulls the edge of husbandry. This above all, to thine own self be true, and it must follow as the night the day. Thou canst not then be false to any man. Farewell, my blessing season this in thee. Pardon the Elizabethan English, but I hope you got the idea. We get advice from all sorts of people. I hope maybe you get a tiny bit from me through these episodes, though, forsooth, what vanity that surely must be. Sorry. Once you get Shakespearean, sometimes it's a little bit difficult to quit. My point here is that while we may learn best by trying and failing ourselves and then self-reflecting to digest it, well, hopefully we have some folks around us who've given us what my friend Jamel Jones calls gold nuggets. You know, those little but incredibly valuable pieces of advice or wisdom. In addition to reflecting on ourselves, as we did earlier, I believe it's equally important to reflect on what others have taught us. The people we surround ourselves with, whether it's family or friends or mentors or colleagues, they have a profound impact on our lives. They shape our perspectives. They challenge our assumptions. They inspire us to grow. As we reflect on the people who have made a significant impact on our lives, we begin to realize that we have become, at least in part, a reflection of them. We adopt their mannerisms sometimes, their phrases, and even their values. If you've ever said to yourself, "Oh, I sound like my mom," or some other relative or friend, you know exactly what I mean. This is not a bad thing. In fact, it's a testament to the power of community and the importance of surrounding ourselves with people who uplift and inspire us. Here comes another interactive bit. You ready? In a minute, we'll pause to think about the people who have made a significant impact on our lives. Who are the mentors, the role models, or friends who have taught you valuable lessons or pushed you to grow? Now, these are the people who have influenced your thoughts, your words, your actions, right? Pick one or a couple. Make some notes on that paper you have. What gold nugget did they pass on to you? How have they challenged you to grow or to think differently? How have they demonstrated love and care and compassion in their interactions with you? You got that? Pick one or a few people who made an impact on your life. That could be just for a minute or for years, right? Then make some notes about that impact and what you've learned from it. Jot down some things that are different about you that started with them. And again, if you don't like what you've written, it is completely okay to tear it up and toss it. In fact, my friends getting their master's in therapy suggest it. Here we go. Are you ready? If you can do so safely right now, go ahead and press pause and take about 5 minutes to reflect on others, what you learned from them, and how it's impacted you. So did you press pause this time? By reflecting on what others have taught us, we can gain a deeper appreciation for the people who have shaped our lives. We can also identify areas where we may need to seek out new relationships or new mentors to help us continue growing and learning. In the same way that self-reflection helps us understand ourselves better, reflecting on what others have taught us helps us understand the impact of our relationships on our lives. It's a powerful reminder that we are not alone in our journey and that the people we surround ourselves with can have a profound impact on our growth and our development. I'll leave you with this ancient Hebrew saying attributed to King Solomon and found in the Hebrew Bible in the book of Proverbs. He who walks with wise men will be wise, but the companion of fools will be destroyed. I pray that this time has been spent in the company of wise people. Thanks for tuning in and for giving your precious attention to me. I'd be honored to have you share your thoughts, your experiences, your suggestions for future episodes. Go to 15mentor.com, 15mentor.com, and you'll find plenty of ways to do just exactly that. In your podcast player or on YouTube or wherever you found this episode, subscribe, like, follow, click the thumb, swipe right, click the bell, I don't know, just whatever you do to get more episodes. Invite a friend out for coffee and tell them about this podcast. Tell your barista too. Post about us on social media. Share a link to this episode or point people to 15mentor.com and encourage them to go on this journey with us. Feel free to find me on some of the socials. Just spell my name out. There you go. I'm pretty easy to find. Thank you for sharing this time with me. I'll see you next time.